So have you ever thought about what it would be like to write a book, a book that ends up touching millions of lives, gets translated into like tons of languages,
Mm-hmm.
but when it first comes out, like in your own country, it only sells one copy.
Wow. That's got to be rough.
That's exactly what happened to Paulo Coelho with The Alchemist.
Really?
Yeah, just one copy in that first week. Crazy, right? It really gets you thinking about how ideas, sometimes they take time to find their way.
It really does make you wonder about like the whole journey of an idea or a book or I guess anything.
So that's what we're diving into today, The Alchemist. We got excerpts here, the foreword, that really interesting prologue, and some key parts of the actual story.
Yeah, and even before we get into the story itself, what strikes me is how Coelho's own experience with the book kind of mirrors some of the big themes it explores.
Oh, for sure. You mean like that whole like perseverance thing?
Yeah, exactly. Like this book went on to be like hugely successful. I mean, you've seen all those quotes we have from all those different like critics and authors. They like speak for themselves.
Absolutely. But it started off, well, like we said, just one copy sold. It's wild.
It really is. And when you think about it, like they even compare him to like The Little Prince and say he has the same kind of readership as Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So to everyone listening, think of this as a deep dive. We're going to like really get into what makes The Alchemist tick.
Yeah, and whether you know the book inside and out or you're just, getting to know it now, we're going to try to highlight the most important parts, those really resonant elements, without getting too lost in the weeds.
Right, like extracting the pure gold.
Exactly. We want to help you get those aha moments, the insights that help explain why this story, which, on the surface might seem pretty simple, why it has had such a lasting impact on so many readers.
So why don't we start where the book starts, with Coelho's foreword. He talks about that tough time he had at the beginning back in Brazil. It really makes you think about how important it is to believe in yourself, in your own vision.
It does. And what really stands out to me is how much faith he had in his story, even when it wasn't, doing well at first.
Yeah.
He says that The Alchemist was super personal for him. Like it reflected his own, search for his personal legend.
Oh, right. And he actually says his personal legends was writing.
Exactly. And I think that says a lot about the courage it takes to follow what you feel called to do, even when it's not immediately clear that anyone else, gets it or appreciates it.
Right. It's like trusting your gut. And that whole idea of searching for your treasure, well, that becomes like the central metaphor for the whole book, right?
Absolutely. It's this idea of, going out into the world, looking for something amazing, only to realize that, well, the most valuable thing was already inside you or, right there all along.
Yeah, it's like the journey itself is the treasure.
And Coelho, he's really clear about this. He says that his story isn't, unique to him. He believes that it's a universal human experience.
Oh, interesting.
Like this desire for something more, for something beyond what we already have. He felt it himself, and he sees it in Santiago's adventures, and he believes that everyone, deep down has that same longing.
Yeah, that makes sense. He also talks about omens. He says they're like the language of God.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea of omens pops up throughout the book, so it's good to talk about it now.
Yeah, definitely. It's like there's this subtle guidance, this like divine guidance maybe that's present in all the everyday things that happen around us. And if we, pay attention, we can learn to see it, to recognize it.
So we're not talking about like, burning bushes or anything.
Right. Not necessarily. It's more like those intuitive nudges or, weird coincidences or just those feelings that seem to align with what we really want deep down. And they steer us in the right direction.
Like a little whisper guiding you along the way.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to be paying attention, to the world around you and to what's going on inside you too.
So let's move on to the prologue now. We meet an alchemist, and he's reading the story of Narcissus.
Yeah. And most people, I think, they know the basic myth, right?
Yeah, Narcissus falls in love with his own reflection and, well, ends up drowning in the lake.
Right. But the book, it puts a really interesting spin on that story.
It does.
The author of the book The Alchemist is reading, he suggests that the lake isn't crying because Narcissus is so beautiful.
Well, that's a twist.
Yeah. The lake's actually crying because it can't see its own reflection in Narcissus's eyes anymore.
Wow. That's kind of deep.
It is. It makes you think about, whose story is really being told here and what's the real focus. And the alchemist, he just says, What a lovely story.
Right, like he doesn't say much, but it feels like there's something more to it.
It's like he's acknowledging that even simple stories can have these deeper meanings hidden within them.
Yeah, and maybe it's hinting at the idea that we often see things not as they are, but as we want them to be.
Oh, that's a really good point. It definitely makes you think about, perception and how there might be hidden truths all around us just waiting to be discovered.
Right, and it's a great way to introduce Santiago's journey,
Mm,
which is full of symbolism and deeper meaning.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've got Coelho's own thoughts, this really interesting take on Narcissus. Now let's meet our main character, Santiago. He's a shepherd boy, and we find him traveling across the plains of Andalusia with his sheep.
And right away, we learn that Santiago isn't, your typical shepherd. This guy can read.
Yeah, he learned in a seminary,
Yeah.
but his parents, they wanted him to be a priest.
Oh, right, right.
And he wanted to travel, see the world, so he chose a different path.
Makes sense.
But it's interesting, right? He has an education, he could have done other things, but he chose this simple life with his sheep.
Yeah, it's like he feels this connection to them, almost like they understand him.
Yeah.
But there's also this sense that maybe he's, maybe this routine, this comfortable life is holding him back from something more.
Yeah, like he's not quite fulfilling his potential. And then there's this recurring dream he keeps having. He sees a treasure buried at the foot of the Egyptian pyramids.
Ah, yes, that dream. It's a big deal.
Definitely. It's like a wake-up call, shakes up his routine, and sets his whole journey in motion.
It's the first real glimpse of his personal legend, that pull towards something he doesn't even understand yet.
Yeah. And dreams, they're like this language, this way for our soul to speak to us, to show us things beyond what we see every day.
I like that.
So this dream, it leads him to an old woman in Tarifa who interprets dreams.
Right, and she calls dreams the language of the world, which is interesting.
It is.
It's like she's saying there's this deeper level of communication, something beyond words that connects everything, and she asks Santiago for 1/10 of the treasure if he finds it.
Yeah, it's like an investment. Like she's saying, I believe in you, so I want to be part of this.
Yeah, exactly. And then, boom, he meets Melchizedek, the king of Salem.
This is a big moment.
It is. They meet in the town square, and this is where the king really lays out this whole idea of a personal legend.
And what's a personal legend exactly?
Well, the king says it's what you've always wanted to do deep down. It's like when we're young, our dreams feel so clear, so possible. But then as we get older, this mysterious force starts to creep in.
Oh, I know that force.
Mm.
It's that voice that tells you you're not good enough, that your dreams are stupid.
Exactly. It's like self-doubt mixed with all the expectations other people put on us, and it tells us that what we want is impossible.
Yeah, it's a dream killer.
And the king, he says the first step is recognizing that force, becoming aware of that voice inside us.
So we can start to quiet it down.
Exactly.
But the king, he also says something really hopeful. He says that when you truly want something, it's because that desire came from the soul of the universe.
Wow.
Yeah, and that the soul of the world, this energy that connects everything, that it's nourished by people's happiness.
That's beautiful.
It is. It's like saying that when we follow our dreams, when we find our own happiness, we're actually contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
Right. It's not selfish to pursue your dreams. It's actually a way to make the world a better place.
And then the king, he gives Santiago these 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, to help him read omens. But he also tells him to trust his own intuition, to make his own decisions.
Yeah, he's giving him guidance, but he's not telling him exactly what to do.
Right, he's giving him the tools and the encouragement, but Santiago's still in charge of his own journey.
It's like a good teacher. They show you the way, but they let you make your own mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
even the fact that the king asks for payment, 6 of Santiago's sheep, it feels important.
Yeah, it's like a real investment on Santiago's part. He's giving up something valuable to pursue his dream.
So, Santiago's got his dream, the old woman's interpretation, the king's words, and those special stones. He sets off on his journey. First stop, Tangier. But things don't go so well. He gets robbed.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, he loses all his money to a guy he thought was going to help him. It's a harsh reality check.
Definitely. It's like, welcome to the real world, kid.
But even though he's devastated, there's this moment where he realizes that he was seeing things through rose-colored glasses.
Right. He was projecting his own idea of how things should be onto the world instead of seeing things as they really were.
And that's a big lesson, learning to see the world for what it is, not for what you want it to be.
Absolutely. But despite this huge setback, he holds on to what the king told him. He even uses Urim and Thummim to try and figure things out.
Yeah, he doesn't give up on his dream, even though things are tough.
It shows how important it is to have something to hold on to, some kind of guiding principle when things get rough.
Like an anchor in a storm. So he ends up taking a job at a crystal shop. Very different from being a shepherd. Much more structured.
Yeah, no more wide open spaces.
And the crystal merchant, he's an interesting guy.
He is. He's got this dream of going to Mecca, but he's too scared to actually go.
Really? Why?
He's afraid that if he achieves his dream, it won't be as good as he imagined.
Wow, that's kind of sad.
It is. He's stuck in this comfortable rut, afraid to actually go after what he really wants.
And then Santiago comes along, and he starts shaking things up. He comes up with new ideas, like selling tea in crystal glasses outside the shop.
Right. And it works. He brings in more customers, makes the shop more successful.
It's like Santiago's optimism, his belief in possibilities. It rubs off on the merchant.
It's a good example of how, even in situations that seem stuck, there's always potential for change, for growth.
And it's around this time that we hear about this idea of maktub, which means it is written.
Ah, yes, maktub.
It's like fate, destiny, the idea that some things are meant to be.
Yeah, but it's not about just sitting back and letting things happen. It's more about recognizing that there's this bigger plan, this flow to life, and that we can choose to work with it or against it.
And Santiago, he really thrives at the crystal shop. He makes enough money to go back to Spain, buy even more sheep than he started with.
He's successful, comfortable.
But then his dream, that treasure in Egypt, it starts to feel less important.
Right, because now he's got security, stability.
And that's a dilemma a lot of us face.
Yeah.
That pull between what's safe and familiar and the call of the unknown, the possibility of something more.
Absolutely. And then he meets this Englishman who's looking for an alchemist and the philosopher's stone.
Another seeker, but on a different path.
Yeah, the Englishman's driven by knowledge, by this desire to understand these ancient secrets.
But they both end up traveling together, joining a caravan heading across the desert to Egypt.
And the desert, it becomes this powerful symbol.
How so?
Well, it's a place of extremes, right? It's harsh, unforgiving, it tests you, pushes you to your limits, but it's also a place of immense beauty and stillness.
Yeah, it strips everything away, forces you to face who you really are.
Exactly. And that's what Santiago's about to experience.
So to everyone listening, let's recap. We've seen Santiago get that first nudge from his dream, get guidance from the king, learn a tough lesson when he's robbed.
Right, and then we see him in the crystal shop, wrestling with his own doubts and desires.
And now he's on his way to Egypt, inspired by this encounter with the Englishman.
What a journey.
And along the way, we've encountered these big themes, following your personal legend, paying attention to omens, the interconnectedness of everything through the soul of the world, and this idea that maybe the treasure isn't some far-off thing, but something closer to home.
Yeah, and it's interesting how both Santiago and the crystal merchant, they both struggle with this tension between what's comfortable and what their heart really desires.
Right. And that twist on the Narcissus story, it adds another layer, makes you think about what's truly valuable and about sticking to your path, even when it's tough.
And don't forget, the book itself, it faced that same struggle at the beginning.
It's true. So it makes you think, what's your personal legend? What are those little nudges, those omens that might be showing up in your life? Are you paying attention?
Are we so caught up in our everyday routines that we're missing those signs, those whispers that might be trying to guide us?
And maybe, just maybe, those setbacks, those times when things don't go our way, maybe they're not failures, but opportunities to learn, to grow.
It's like, what if those detours are actually part of the map?
Yeah, leading us to our own unique treasure. And what about those dreams we hold on to so tightly, the ones we're almost afraid to chase because what if we fail?
What if the real risk is not in pursuing them, but in letting them fade away?
That's a powerful thought to leave everyone with.
It is.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into The Alchemist. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something equally fascinating.
Looking forward to it.
Until next time, keep searching, keep listening, and keep following those omens. You never know where they might lead you.
We never know.